All right, welcome back, everyone. I have a special guest on today. I got Matt from MOJO Mindset. We connected primarily over X, and I noticed he was posting a lot of things about from Michael Zuber, his daily financial news, and it got me very intrigued, and I want to connect with him. So, welcome, Matt.
Hey, thanks so much, Mark. Appreciate you. Thank you for the invite. Happy to be here.
Yeah, so let's kind of talk about your story, your journey. I know you are in the Coast Guard, I believe, and you have a got into real estate. And what's with Mojo Mindset?
Yeah. So you kind of hit on it, right? Both my wife and I were both active duty Coast Guard members. So we're currently fulfilling our Coast Guard obligation. And what we decided that there's more to maybe just that 9 to 5 than just kind of making it a career and going. Not to say there's nothing wrong with that, but we kind of wanted something to give us more options, right? And so that kind of started during COVID. Everybody had a lot of free time, and like you said, for better or worse. So we made that choice to learn, and we got educated through real estate using YouTube, and like you said, the one rent at a time community and X. And so at that point, it was a matter of what can we do to set ourselves up and give ourselves options in the future. And so that kind of led to house hacking our first property. And so that was myself in Florida, and then fast forward to where we are now, we're still currently house hacking a triplex in New Orleans. So I know there's a lot to unpack there, but yeah, that's kind of the skinny of it.
Well, let's start with how old or how young you are. Like, when did this? Yeah.
Right on, right on. So both my wife and I were 30 and 31. So just millennials that just got out into the workforce, from both working families, and just went to serve in the military. And kind of that's where our current situation is now. So um yeah, hopefully that kind of clears it up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's like for me, I'm a lot older, but at your age, I was just goofing around and didn't really have any direction. And I mean, and then I got into the fire department maybe around that time. So I thought I made it already. I thought, okay, I got these benefits, I got this pension now. It's got to work for, and once I do 25, 30 years, I'm done. So I'm just amazed when I meet individuals like yourselves that have this, you get in this, you probably felt like you got your dream job, you got in the Coast Guard and this is going to be your career, but then somehow something put you down this real estate or financial freedom path. And for me, I always talk about how COVID definitely opened up my eyes on that sense. But for you, like, how did you kind of maybe figure it out at such a young age?
Yeah, and I'd also say, we weren't always like this. You know what I'm saying? Like early 20s, right? Like you're still trying to figure it out, and like you could even argue we're still trying to figure it out now, right? So I think to kind of hit that point, it was kind of what was my upbringing, right? So both my parents, they worked, both served in the military, and they had careers in the Department of Defense. Like after that, so growing up, that was kind of like the path that was, I would say shared from them, is like get good grades in school, get a good job, and if you join the military, do your 20, and then go ahead and get another job after that. Like that was kind of it. And so with not too much thought, it was like, all right, I'll just do that. I'm still having fun. Like I was playing sports throughout all of high school and college. And so but then at some point in time, like the real world hits, and you're like, all right, like what do I really want to do? What do I want to do with my time? What are my passions? What are my hobbies? And so I would encourage, the maybe like my younger self is try different things like that you weren't even interested in. Like so like, first started like creating a website. Like that didn't work out, like do some side hustles. Like, do you like selling clothes online, or you know what I mean? Like Etsy, it's like, all right, just try it. And then for for me, it was like, well, I know my mom, like, how real estate has kind of helped her. And so I asked her about it, and then I started educating myself. And now with YouTube, and all these social media platforms, the information is there. And so you just have to find the right message that resonates with you. And for us, that was the message of, getting you can get into real estate through owner occupied, getting roommates, multifamilies, and you don't need to go ahead and get 20, 30, 50 units like in year one. You could kind of keep your career. So like we're still focusing on our career. And then on the side, a couple properties here and there, fast forward 30 years. And it's like you have that optionality if you so choose, right? So I think, um, that's kind of maybe the journey as to which we're or the path as to which we're on right now.
And you kind of talk about like, finding a voice or someone that kind of connects with you. Was there someone that you were kind of following in the beginning, or you just kind of leapt in on your own and jumped in and got your feet wet and then kind of figured things out and kind of started finding different communities that fit with your style, I guess?
Yeah. So there's famous YouTuber, right? Like Meet Kevin. I think that was somebody that kind of resonated with me because you can kind of see like he's right now he's probably like what mid 30s or something. So I could resonate like okay, he's like kind of on the same age frame as me. He did it. He started in real estate. He started as a realtor in California and then worked his way to a broker, owned his construction company, yada yada yada. And so I think if you open yourself to finding these resources and then you can kind of pick and choose what, like you said, what threads resonate with you or what maybe teachings are something that you can implement in your life. And so that's kind of a little bit about kind of who we first started out. I'm sure Bigger Pockets, you know on their community using their rental analyzer tool, like that was a really good resource. And then so I think as you kind of go through this journey, there's going to be other voices and other audiences that you think um, have a better message, or not a better, but like that message resonates with what season you are in life. I think is more appropriate than just the better message. So
Awesome. Well, let's kind of dig into your portfolio a little bit as far as maybe what kind of challenges you face, how much you've learned from the first property to now. I mean, I think you said you're also doing like midterm rentals, you're house hacking. So how do you kind of did you try a lot of different strategies, or you kind of these ones were kind of from the beginning and these what worked for you?
yeah, so I'll start with just the very first property, right? Um, so at the time, I was in flight school in Pensacola, Florida, and when you're in that position of you got your job where you're like going through school, and other people have like roommates. It's like kind of like a grad program, right? Similar to like you go through undergrad, but like after that you go to grad, you want to specialize in something, and you have roommates. So it was like pretty much like a no-brainer to have other flight students that want to live in a place, share a place. So it's like we're all in that community, we're all studying together anyways. Now, can the numbers make sense? I guess is the next point. So that's how that first house hack started. And fortunate for service members that we have this tool called the VA loan. If you're not in the military, you can still use a 3.5% FHA loan. It's for owner occupied is the intention, and that's kind of what we did. Where first figured out how to analyze a deal, and then found out, or I guess discovered that hey, you could use this VA loan. Got the place in Florida, and it was a 4 bedroom, 2 bath, 1,800 square feet. So this is, a tenant grade property, right? Nothing fancy, no bells and whistles. Um, but the numbers worked, right? Was fortunate to get it in 2020. So I mean, it was like about 230K, 2.5%, like which is unheard of. Uh, if hindsight 2020 would have got more, right? But yeah, the numbers work, right? Your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, end up being, I'd say, between 11 and 1200. They've gone up since then with property taxes. But like you said, that amount right there, and it was renting for 1700 at the time. So it's like, all right, so you got a little bit of reserve, if you will, of wiggle room, and now it rents for 2050. The principal interest stays down there for the next 30 years, and just property taxes and some, build those cash reserves for, like you said, those challenges, right? So whether it's like a plumbing thing, you need to fix a new HVAC, especially being in Florida, those things are running 24/7 in the summer. Um, so yeah, that was a little bit about the first portfolio, and then it it sort of resonated where it was like if it wasn't broke, kind of don't fix it kind of deal. So it I did that again in Florida after that first property, bought another place with the remaining entitlements, because my work was essentially closer to that location, and so once we did that, did it again, and then PCS or changed station down here to New Orleans, where my wife Jessica, she got the triplex here because after it worked in there, it was like, all right, well, you know, we don't want to live with roommates, but we also want to have that like personal space. So that's kind of where multifamily kind of checks those boxes, if you will.
Yeah, so I checked you out. I was watching your YouTube videos and trying to get a little backstory on you folks. But I also noticed, one of your guys' great videos was about house hacking, your journey, and I found it interesting how you talked about, your wife. How did you get her on board? And for her, like I heard her talking about, like buying that, you grow up and you're like, I'm supposed to have this dream home. I'm supposed to pick out the white picket fence, and she's like, I don't even get to see the house, or how am I picking out this house? So
Yeah,
that really caught, and I think that's the struggle that a lot of people have, trying to get on that path, doing the house hacking strategy and whatnot. Is usually one person, one individual is not on board with doing that. So how did you have to kind of pull her in, or how'd you do this?
yeah. Oh man, that was I can still remember it. It was really, really tough and challenging because you know, it, it is a big decision, right? Getting into real estate. And so a newly engaged, newly married couple, the husband's over here getting a house, trying to do FaceTime closing day walkthrough, and it's like this is not how it's supposed to go. Like this is not how it was advertised at all. Um, so yeah, like it was challenging to I wouldn't say convince, I would say to align or I guess to have that shared model of what we were trying to build in the future. And I think that framework of this is not a forever home. This is the required, not required, but like this is sort of the steps we can take given our current situation if we want to, get involved in real estate where we can have those options 5, 10, 15 years down the road. And so I think it was a lot of sort of buying down that ignorance, if you will, of education. I think that was it. Education in terms of, hey, this is how the numbers work. This is the process that we can use, and we can replicate this model. And I would say the other thing too is without even knowing it, being in the military and being like I was geo bacheloring, right? So like I was in one location, my wife was in Houston. So like we were already living apart. And so on one hand, you could say you could just feel sorry for yourself and be like, man, like it sucks. I'm not living with my spouse. Like we're living apart, which is true. Like it was challenging. Like those long distance relationships, like 10 out of 10 would not recommend, right? Like it's tough. But what if you could turn that into an asset, right? Like, so we were living apart. I don't care if I have roommates. So I had other flight students. So I did those 2 times. And then it's like, all right, that worked. Now it's like, all right, in New Orleans, we multifamily property. And sure enough, like it made sense. So you could turn that bad situation into a positive, just depending on how you look at it. And like, it was a sacrifice for sure, right? Like it was not easy. So that was hopefully that answers how.
No, no, yeah, like I watched some of your videos and I was just that really was the one I was very entertained with, and we were kind of joking, before we got on camera about how a lot of your videos that are doing really well are the Tesla ones, but we can also talk about maybe what the vision behind, you have a YouTube channel, you're doing a lot of stuff on X, Instagram. So what is, the whole social media side about it? Are you, like you said, are you trying to grow that, or what are you doing with that?
Yeah. And I definitely want to kind of, like shout out you were talking about how, you're just doing it for fun, right? And it is kind of a fun outlet as well as that, creative project. And I think for us, while it does take a lot of work to maybe coordinate, um, and balance the full-time job, the actually running a business, and then on the extra side, you wanna go ahead and produce content, like, why would you wanna do that, right? So I think to answer that why is because if the message that we can share will resonate with one person, that we were in our old selves or our 20-year-old self, and we saw that message and that helped change the trajectory, like when I was in their shoes. I mean, that's so profound, like to kind of empower, that next generation, that younger self, or even the older self, right? Like that says, you know what, there's still enough time, like it's not too late.
Yeah, the
I
older
think
self.
right, right.
The
My
older
my
people.
future, yeah, my future self, right? That did make the decision, but looking back, there's still time. So, I think that would be it, to document and share that journey, so that way we can look back and say, "Dang, we were waking up early trying to clean the Airbnb before the guests showed up." Like those are the good times. I mean, look back
Yeah.
at it now, we start laughing, but yeah, we'll never forget those.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you get. So I manage about 7 Airbnb units in legal ones in Waikiki, and yeah,
Wow.
man, it's the cleaner probably makes more money than everyone else. Yeah,
Yeah, no, they really
yeah,
do. They really do. And you you make those systems and those processes to make it a little bit more streamlined, but
yeah.
you can only do so much. So that's yeah, you understand very well.
Yeah. So, I saw you, we kind of connected probably mainly on X, and I kind of touched on, I saw you retweeting quite a bit of Michael Zuber's daily financial news. And I think it seems like you're a regular to that in the morning. And I try to check it out as much as I can also. But would you say that, maybe 5 years ago, were you very aware of probably a lot of what he talked about, or a lot of the information that he covers? Because, like, for me, 5 years ago, I mean, I would have had no idea about anything he was talking about. I just was in my little bubble and had blinders on, and I was just working for my pension. And a lot of the things that he covers, I mean, I had no idea. I mean, I wasn't really paying attention.
Yeah. No, that's spot on, because you know for the way that I view it is these economic terms that I'm just so blind to, right? Like I felt like, man, I'm getting so much value, but I needed a way to um better understand. So like if there's an acronym, like I remember like, CPI, I'm like, man, I know that means something, right? So like I would like Google it. I would Google it and I'd be like, oh, this is how it works. And then like slowly on, I was like, you know what? Like I'm gonna just keep a running log, so that way if I ever need to reference something, it's like on X, or like, and it's a way I could just like teach myself and just try to stay up. So the way that I like it, because it's a quick synopsis of, if anybody is, like you said, working that full-time job, they're a little bit out of touch, or maybe the finger's not really on the pulse, if you will, in terms of what Zuber's providing, and it's like real time, up to date economic factors, housing statistics. I mean, he gets so many experts in not just real estate, but equity markets. Um, you know, Collectively, I feel like there is tons of value, and on a daily basis, to like just pick one topic that I was like, I didn't even know what that meant. And then, I'll probably in 2 weeks I'll be like, you know what, I forgot what that meant. So like I'm gonna just revisit it. So that's kind of how I use it to maybe like learn something. If I could just like learn something each day, I feel like I'll be better equipped to navigate maybe the financial markets in the future.
Yeah, I think like, what you touched on is very accurate. Like how it just gives you a pulse on the market. And these, you don't have to go too in depth about it. However, it is, a great way to give yourself an idea of kind of just staying with the know. And I was horrible with that. And the more you kind of pay attention to, what basic things are going on, you start to realize like how, money is being manipulated, and how, the dollar is losing value, and how if you don't start doing different things, you're just going to be more dependent on a lot of, the government per se. And, all you got to do is make a few changes and it'll put you in a lot better position. And that's kind of why I love the daily financial news. I think, like you said, it just kind of gives you that quick synopsis of what's going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, and I mean, like you said, it's if it wasn't for that, I feel like there would be too much noise either on YouTube or on social media platforms, and like you're just if you could just kind of add something to your routine that kind of gives you that image of what's going on in the at least economic sense. I feel like is important.
Yeah. Sorry, man. I got to mess this Airbnb gas, man. Hold on.
Oh no, you're good. You gotta do what you gotta do. And this that's so funny. Yep, that's it. And don't stop.
Yeah, she's been messaging us like 20 times. Oh,
Something
yeah, cool,
good
man.
or everything's
No,
in.
she's just, one of those guests that has a question for everything,
Yeah.
but it seems like every guest recently has been that way. Um,
Oh man,
but
I know. They're all trying to complain about them cleaning fees. I get you.
yeah. But yeah, so sorry, man, I lost train of thought. This is a but we gotta do our work, right? When we get a call, right? Just like the firehouse, we got a
Y-
call, we gotta respond.
I
But
know. Yeah, you're on duty. You're on
yeah.
duty. That's how it is. That's just how it is. It's part of life.
But let's kind of touch on, let's see, for new investors, what would
New
be your
investors.
best
Okay.
advice for them?
For new investors, what would be the
Yeah.
best advice? So when I think of this topic, I think of my younger self, somebody that just joined the workforce. Whether they graduated college, they have maybe they got student loans and they're living with roommates, and they're thinking like, is this everything that is hyped up to be, right? I would say the best advice is to first invest in skills that increase your financial literacy. So like just understand how money works, right? Like understand, what it means to what's a balance sheet, like what's the income statement, and I take a lot of this from reading Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? Like just opening up your horizon and your perspective to um, the financial stuff that was not taught in school, right? Because I think we all can look back and say, like, I wish I learned finances in school. I wish I learned investing in school. I wish I learned taxes. Well, the reason why you're not going to learn those is because school is preparing you to have a job and join the workforce, and nothing wrong with that, but like you need to go outside and expand your horizons. So I would look up resources about financial literacy, real estate for those new investors, and then once you kind of learn more, you can learn the lingo. Then it's you want to kind of network and put yourself in those spaces where people are doing real estate deals, like whether that's a local networking group. And so I would say that's probably my best advice on how I started was first learning and then kind of getting educated with the network. And if you have peers that are doing it, you can kind of do that journey together. So that was that would be my couple piece of advice for that new investor.
Yeah, that's great advice. I mean, I think for me, that's the number one thing is that, just getting started, right? That's the biggest thing is to get started and kind of just figure it out in a sense. I mean, I know that's probably not the best way to put it, but I think if you're in real estate long enough, you know, you it's very forgiving. That's the one thing I like to tell people, that I think real estate is very forgiving. The longer you are in it, and just kind of helps you kind of overcome a lot of obstacles. But I think that's great advice. I mean, I think and I think that's why we connected very well on social media. I love what you're putting out there. I love, like I said, I think those that are in the know, they know that, like Zuber, like you said, he puts out great stuff every day, and even he admits it. He's not always right, right? He puts out information, and he's willing to say, yeah, I made a bad call, but this is what I saw, and this is what I was thinking, and I think that's what I really like, is that he's not trying to sugarcoat everything. And like, there's a lot of people that always talk, oh, housing prices only go up, or you know, um, you know, date the rate and marry the house and all these type of things, right? And he's telling it like it is, and he's willing to admit when he's made maybe a slight misjudgment or calling something out. But I love that. But also, let's kind of go into like where people can find you on social media right now.
Yeah. So I know you, kind of how we connected on X and YouTube, and maybe a little bit slacking on Instagram a little bit, but that's probably the best way to just connect is on X or YouTube, or if you do reach out and there's ideas or topics that you would find helpful that we can even create a video or share content on. We're definitely open and willing to do that as well. So
Yeah. So where did you start first? Like, I'm kind of new to X, actually. Um, yeah. Like, I maybe really started focusing maybe the past few months. So, but I was more on Instagram, but I like the engagement on X a lot better.
yeah, I think I think by trying different things, you find your voice. And for me, I felt like Instagram was um, it was almost like everything on Instagram is is for like the beautification, in terms of like everything's perfect, like for the most part, like you're doing a lot of things that are really perfect, and there's not really any dialogue. Versus come over to X, and I would say probably like really got serious within the past you know maybe half a year, 3 or 4 months, like kind of that's probably how we connected, in terms of there is a lot more thoughtful discussion, to the point where I feel like I'm learning something, versus maybe on Instagram it wasn't as so. So that was maybe my initial thoughts on it, for why I but I also was kind of like you, started on Instagram, and had that personal Instagram account, and then now I was joined to the Mojo Mindset kind of deal, and so now we focus more on X.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the engagement a lot better on X. I think it's a better way to build a community, if that's the right way to put it.
Yeah, no, I would agree on that as well. Like it's not so much like I think you're able to step back and think critically, versus having that echo chamber of people are always agreeing with what you're saying. And like, oh, that's like, I felt like on maybe on Instagram, it's like you're just you're just like, oh, that's a cool photo, throw some hearts, that's a cool reel, throw some hearts, I move on. But I don't feel like there's more to X, like a discussion topic, like you said, talking about even like communities or spaces where this is the topic at hand, and everybody gets to bring their perspective, their life experience to the table. And I think that's such a fantastic way to learn as well. So
Yeah, I love it, man. Yeah, I'm glad we got to connect. I'm glad we finally got to do this. I've had some internet
yeah,
issues with, we've had to reschedule a few times. We had a bunch of rolling power outages going on in Hawaii. So we're glad we finally got to connect, and I'm sure I'll see more of you on social media. Actually, I'll see you in Vegas next year, right? For the ORAT.
that's
Uh,
that's it. I know we got to start putting in the calendar. Let my work know.
All right, man. Thanks for doing this, man. I will do it again, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coordinating, and I'm really happy to join. So, thank you.
All right, man. Thanks, man.
See ya.